If you were trying to be a better decision maker and you know you have some key decisions to make, this episode is here for you to help you out, so keep watching. Welcome back to the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. I'm your host, Rickey Jasper. Today's episode is how to make decisions like a leader, and really this ultimately helps you be a better leader. I love this topic because I think decision making is such a huge thing, and it's something that is a critical piece of our day, of our lives, of our work lives, of our relationships, because we're making decisions all the time, whether we know it or whether we don't know it. So 5 key things to do, and I'll run through them really quick. Number 1 is gather information. Number 2 is consider the impact. Number 3 is consult with a mentor. Number 4 is communicate your decision clearly. And number 5 is take accountability. So we make decisions every day that affect us and that affect other people. And some decisions are conscious, some decisions are unconscious. A lot of unconscious decisions that I make, that hopefully you make, in the morning, get up and brush my teeth. I don't even think about it. It's just a decision that comes naturally. Other more conscious decisions are bigger work decisions or life decisions. I'll get into that a little bit in the podcast deeper. But at the end of the day, decision making is difficult and it's tough. And the reason why I'm talking about it is because I've had so many tough times making decisions, and it's caused me a lot of anguish. It's caused me a lot of anxiety. It's caused me a lot of guilt, stress, back and forth. But I've realized that in making a decision, it's the strongest thing to do. And all of those things, those feelings that I mentioned before, actually came because I hadn't made a decision yet. Once I made a decision and I stuck my foot in the sand and I was like, this is the way that we're going, it made everything easier because it cut off other options of me going back and forth. And I think that when it comes to decisions, that's sometimes a lot of just the mental anguish that we get is because we haven't made the decision and we're constantly just weighing all the variables and we're constantly just in that space, but we haven't made a decision. So I'm giving 5 tips that have very much helped me make decisions over in my life, because I used to not be a decisive person at all. And when I tell you, you can look at social media, you can look at old YouTube videos, you can look at whatever, and you can think that, oh man, it seems like he had it all together. But those are just pictures, snapshots. Those don't tell the entire story of everything that I have been through, have gone through, am going through. So I'm going to get into it right now. Number 1 in our tips and tricks is gather information. I didn't say gather information. I didn't say overanalyze. I didn't say anything of that. I said gather information, as in, 1, you don't want to just be impulsive with a decision. When I then became a better decision maker, I just became impulsive with decisions. So if I felt emotional discomfort in something, my decision would be do the other thing. For example, where this showed up early in when I started running, I would be like, oh, I don't feel the best right now, or I feel tired. What is my decision? Stop, because it's uncomfortable. Well, that's impulsive, and that doesn't help me be a better runner. It doesn't help me in my fitness, so that would end up stunting my growth, right? So that's where I would just be impulsive. Now, on the other side, where I would overgather information, there was a point in time where I switched jobs. I made a job change. And when I made that job change, it took me so long to, 1, accept the other offer from the other company. And then even after I accepted the offer from the other company, I spent the first 4 weeks complaining and wishing I never accepted the offer and that I could get back. I still mentally hadn't made a decision. I was still just gathering so much information, over-analyzing. So when it comes to gathering information, it's gathering necessary information, weighing your pros and cons, and looking and saying, hey, there might be pros on both sides, there might be cons on both sides, but this is the one that I'm able to live with, that I'm confident that I'll be able to walk through. So number 2 is consider the impact. There's variables everywhere. I love using dating as such a key thing, because relationships, that's a huge decision. Who you end up dating, that is a very big decision where you have to weigh variables, because variables will inevitably come into play. How your lifestyle is going to change, how your day-to-day is going to change, where areas you have to be of service, what areas you're going to have to compromise, what you're going to have to give up, what you're going to have to intake. All of these things are variables, and they impact you and they impact the other person. So you want to consider the impact. And if it's an impact, and when I say impact, I don't always mean in a negative connotation, because decisions, the purpose of it is to make a decision for something that is ultimately going to be better. So considering the impact is, if it's going to be better over here, some things might be a little worse over here. Case in point, today we are shooting this podcast on a Saturday. Mason lives about 45 minutes to an hour away from me, depending on traffic, and he sacrifices time from his family on a Saturday morning to be here by 8 a.m. and we shoot. Now, on Saturday mornings, I know that I like to get up and work out, but I also don't like to wake up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday because I wake up at 5 a.m. Monday through Friday. But since we start shooting at anywhere from 8 to 8:30 or 9 a.m., I make sure that I'm up at 5:30. I'm getting my workout in. I'm sacrificing that time. And so I'm ready to be here and do the thing that I love doing. Now, the impact is we both get to create in an area that we love. The sacrifice is we are taking time away from our families. We're taking time away from our schedule. We're getting a little less sleep than we would normally want to on a Saturday, but the ultimate impact is a positive thing. So considering the impact and variables, it's considering also the good impact of making a decision, because sometimes inevitably it's going to come with something that might not feel so good in the moment, but in the long run, it's going to be great for you. Number 3, consult with a mentor. Now, I love this one. Like I nerd out to this point because consulting with a mentor, it doesn't say consulting with somebody who's just going to give you the answer, because at the end of the day, you're the only person that walks in your shoes. My mentor right now is my dad. Like, and I've said this on so many podcasts and so many other, occasions. My dad is someone who we got to a certain age and it would bug me so much because he just wouldn't give me the answer. I'd be like, hey, well, what would you do in this situation? And he would look and he would say, well, here are the variables. Here's what to consider. Here is everything that, for you to take a look at. And he would start doing this. But I'm not you, so I don't know. And he goes, and I don't want to tell you the answer, because if you do what I would do in this situation, you could turn around and resent me for the results that you get, because I might be able to enjoy or live with the results, but it might be directly in conflict with the results that you actually want. And you are different in going through whatever decision-making process or process, so you might do it differently. And I realized that over time, it made me a critical thinker. It made me a better decision maker, because instead of just being like, hey, can you give me the answer? It made me think critically of how do I actually want things to get done? And I think critical thinking now is maybe it's a lost art, but because when we look at social media, we look at certain things, it's very easy to just get caught up with the flow of things. Oh, everybody's talking about this one thing today. Let me hop on the bandwagon to get some views, to get some clicks. Oh, everybody's doing this dance trend. Let me just go on. And so the critical thinking of things just goes completely out of the window. When it comes to decision making and finding a mentor, having a mentor to push you to critical think, but then not make a decision for you and really push you to make a decision is going to help you be a better decision maker, but it's also going to help you see variables and things from a different viewpoint. And different viewpoints are going to test your knowledge in a good way. And ultimately, it's just going to make you a better leader. Number 4, communicate your decision clearly. I used to not just communicate decisions, right? I say this in like dating. I would just kind of like slowly ghost or slowly fade out or whatever it is. And I wouldn't communicate any decision that I had because I was scared of the backlash. I was scared of looking weak. My ego was fragile. I just didn't want to show any sort of chinks in the armor. But also from a good decision standpoint, if you are, let's say you're leading your household or your company, you want to be able to communicate decisions clearly and also highlight the benefit of the decision. Decisions ultimately are for the betterment of you and other people around you. That's what it should be for. In the interim, or sometimes those decisions are not going to feel good. Doesn't always feel good waking up on a Saturday, getting out and running in the cold before doing an early podcast. Doesn't always feel good, but the benefit is we get to create, we get to do some fun, amazing things. Communicating your decisions to the other people it impacts or it affects is going to help people get on board and is going to help your ultimate goal be propelled forward even faster, because when you get people on board with the decision that's made, say, hey, here's the line in the sand, this is the direction that we're going, and they feel a part of it, they feel bought in, they feel like they have some autonomy in it, it's going to help everything and it's going to make you realize that you made the right decisions. When you communicate your decision as well and you do it clearly, what it does is it allows you to almost put your ego to the side and say, hey, this is what I think is best and this is a direction that we're going, and it's vulnerable, and maybe this decision is a wrong decision, but if it's a wrong decision, then it ultimately pushes us closer to a right decision, and it allows you to grow through that. And a part of being a leader is being able to be vulnerable. It is sometimes making the wrong decision, but recognizing that the decision is wrong. And then it leads us into number 5.5 is taking accountability. I have this note: if you want to lead from the front, but you'll take the shots head on. Leadership should be leading from the front, a full service of everybody else, right? So you are having everybody's front and you are having everybody's back. When everything is coming against you after you've made a decision, you're the one in the front taking all the shots, taking all the heat. You're also the one pulling everybody up the hill. And when people who are in your charge are making mistakes, you are also in the back. You are also someone who has their back, who is being the person saying, I made this decision. And in me making this decision, some of the downstream impact was that you might have made a mistake because you didn't know the fullness of this decision. So I have your back, and I'm going to make sure that I'm taking the shots head on for you. Taking accountability is something that I never used to do when it came to decisions. I would just make a decision, and if there was a mistake, I wouldn't take accountability for it. When I ran 413 Apparel, I was making a lot of decisions, and when mistakes happened, I would place blame other areas. Every which way, the first 2 years, I just didn't really know how to be a leader, and those were very critical years because we were trying to grow. We were in the red, and it wasn't until like year 3, year 4 that we really became, profitable. And I was like, man, I just didn't know how to lead. I didn't know how to take accountability. And I was like, man, this is the plan. Everybody execute the plan, and people didn't execute the plan. I'd be like, I place blame. But at the end of the day, I was the one that made that decision. Maybe if I look through, maybe I didn't gather enough information on our team and say, man, is this within the right skill set? Maybe I didn't consider the impact. Well, everybody else has lives. Are they able to actually execute this in the time frame? Maybe I didn't consult with a mentor, somebody who did this before, and say, hey, is all the plan that I'm putting in place with the team that I have, can this be executed? And then maybe I didn't communicate, the importance of doing these things. These are all things that lead up into taking accountability in your decision. And I didn't do that. And now as being a leader in aspects of my life, I look through these things and I gather information. I consider the impact. I consult with a mentor. I communicate my decision, because when I do that, I'm able to see things from other sides. And then at the end of the day, if everything hits the fan, I take accountability because I was the person who made that decision. If you want to make decisions as a leader, and I'll run through these things really quickly again. One, you're going to want to gather information. Gathering information and seeing and knowing what you're dealing with and what you're making a decision for is going to be huge. Number 2, you got to consider the impact. The impact can be everywhere. It's not just a personal impact. It can be a financial impact. It can be a time impact. It can be impacts everywhere, but you're going to want to consider the impact, and also the impact of if you execute the decision and it goes well, what could be on the other side, the opportunities on the other side. And that could push you into making a decision even faster, because you're like, if we do this now, we can get to the prize a little bit faster. Number 3, consult with a mentor. Having other opinions, having people who won't just tell you what to do, but will give you a different viewpoint is going to push you to be a better leader, is going to expand the way in which you look at problems. I look at things so many different ways now. And I use a podcast as an example. Mason's like, what if we do this? What if we cut this out here? What if we do? We used to do head and heart hits moment. If you look at our trailer at the beginning, it used to be a full 30-second trailer. We're like, maybe that's losing people. We used to not tell our points at the beginning. We had these conversations and being like, let's look at our analytics. Let's look at ways in which we can make sure that we give, the viewer something that is right there within the first minute. They know what this podcast is about, who the person, giving the message is about, and then also what this thing is about to allow them to make a decision if they want to keep watching the video. So those are things that I'm consulting with him, he's consulting with me. We're both mentoring each other in this so we can move forward. Number 4, communicate your decision clearly. We communicate the decision that we make and we execute. Number 5, we both take accountability for areas that are within our realm. And by taking accountability, we are able to grow. We're able to make decisions faster. We're able to have trust that, hey, if I know I'm accountable for this, you can hold me to the fire for it, and vice versa. And it allows us to grow and have trust, and allows us to have a better product and make decisions even faster and better the next go round. So the word of the day, the word of the week, whatever you do, however you want to expand this word, is clarity. In making a decision, not every variable is going to be clear. Some things are just unknown, but you want to have clarity of mind in making a decision, saying, I know that not everything is going to be known. I know that some things are going to be unknown, but I am very clear that this is a decision that I want to make, and I'm very clear of this is the reason why I want to make these decisions, and I will execute it, I will communicate it, I will take responsibility. When you have that clarity of mind, you realize that making the decision and the actions that follow become so much more comfortable, because as long as you have clarity and as long as you don't freak, the people who you are leading will not freak as well. I see it all the time in organizations. I see it all the time in people, and I've been that person. Whenever the leader freaks out, everybody in their charge freaks out. Whenever there's a leader that's calm, everybody in their charge is calm. Leadership from the top down, it ends up taking the form of who the leader is. The personality of the organization, the personality of the team ends up taking the form of the leader. And if the leader is a strong person, if the leader is a person who's leading from the front, if they freak out, everybody else freaks out. Have clarity, make decisions. I know that you can do it. We do it every day, subconsciously, consciously, and we're going to continue to do these things. So I hope that this message helped. If it did, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. We're going to keep putting out this content because we know that it helps us, and it's things that we do every day that help us be better people. And we just hope that you are able to be a better person as well as you take these to heart, into your head. And thank you all so much for watching. See you next time. Peace. Thank you all so much for watching the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. If you like this podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, send it to friends, use a carrier pigeon, do whatever you have to do. We hope that this inspires you to chase your greater vision in your life and for us to continually and consistently do it together.